Hello, good evening. Happy Sunday. I think I'm live. I am, yeah. Hope you've had a fantastic weekend. I hope you've been able to digest the information from Friday. Welcome to Travel Expert Travel Clinic, where we're going to make sure that you have all the facts every Sunday right here at 7 p.m. And we want to make sure that you can navigate around COVID and holidays smoothly and safely, and hopefully have a holiday without a hitch this year, because that is what we are here to help you, of course, do. We are non-biased. We are straight talking, no BS females, travel industry experts. I'm here with Melissa Tilling from Charitable Travel, who is my partner in crime on a Sunday evening. She has got oodles of experience in the travel industry. So what she doesn't know isn't worth knowing. And I have a little bit of experience compared to her, not quite so much, but we are here together to make sure that we help you over the next coming weeks and months and ensure that you get to go on holiday. That for us is our goal. I think Friday's news was a little bit disappointing, certainly for the travel industry. I think we were expecting a lot more destinations, certainly island destinations such as the Greek islands, such as the Canary Islands, and possibly even some of the Caribbean islands to have been on that green list, and unfortunately they are not. Melissa, welcome.
Thank you. That was a big and intimidating build-up. I feel confident. I feel like I've got my head around this, so hopefully I'm not going to let anyone down with complicated questions that I can't answer.
If anybody can answer them, you can answer them, and you intimidate me, so let's not go there. But listen, what is your thoughts? You have all this experience. You've been working for big tour operators. You've got your own travel agency business. You're selling travel. I'm not. Tell me what you think.
I have to say I agree with you that for the travel industry, for the hype, for the expectation, for all of that pent-up demand, that feeling that we need to escape our little island, that tiny list of green countries was pretty disappointing when it came out on Friday. I guess the flip side to that, and I'm the last person in the world to echo Bojo, but we want to go forward and not have to come back again. So I have some empathy with the idea of starting small and growing. And I'd rather we got it right than suddenly all go gung-ho and then have to, oh God help us, go back into another lockdown or something else crazy. So I think it will be fast evolving after now. I think this is an early short list of destinations, some of which I'm surprised to see some not on that list, I have to say. But I do think, the next round of releases will be larger. So I'm quietly optimistic, and I feel like it's progress.
I agree. And I think the one thing we don't want to do is have a replication of last year, do we? Where, those travel corridors were on and off and on and off. It was ridiculous, and that really doesn't help anybody. And I don't know about you, though. The sandwich aisle, until Friday, the only sandwich aisle I'd seen was in Tesco's.
Well, I can't believe that you're not planning your St. Helena and South Georgia Twins Centre already. What's wrong with you?
There are the sandwich islands.
Oh, absolutely. I'm all for the sandwich islands. I'm always for getting anywhere.
Do you think? There's some politics here, isn't there? Because the Falkland Islands, that's very political, isn't it?
I guess they were going to go for crown dependencies first, which is why you'll see, Gibraltar on there. You'll see South Georgia, Falklands, St. Helena. All of those areas, I suppose, are not about political, but they're more known factors, and obviously the relationship between those places and the UK government is very close. So it's less unreliable, and they know. Where I think I was surprised not to see was some Caribbean island destinations. Maybe not all of them, but some of them, particularly on the same basis that there are many that are crown dependencies and have strong relationships with the UK. I was certainly surprised to not see those. And then on the whole subject of islands, since we were talking about Sandwich Islands and South Georgia, the whole idea of some of the other island destinations, like the Canary Islands or like the Balearics or like Malta, where, and indeed the Greek islands, where we know that the infection rate, the R rate is very, is almost non-existent, that, vaccinations are ongoing. I was just super surprised to not see those. So I would be quietly confident that that'll be in the next round. And from what I can make out, and it is super confusing, I think the next round will be announced probably early June and then come into effect a week later. So I think that first next round announcements of the deck that's going to shuffle in between the reds, the ambers and the greens will reveal some more, and probably those island destinations, I would have thought. The other one I've heard, and I've been I can see some sense in it, is the G7 conference is taking place in Cornwall, second week in June. President Biden is coming across to be with the other G7 leaders, and I wouldn't mind putting a small bet on America.
I was about to ask about the US, because I think it was a bit of a shock, wasn't it, that maybe the US wasn't on here as well, again, just because. Yeah.
Well, considering their vaccination rate, but I think if President Biden is coming to Cornwall with a large delegation, the chances are they won't all want to go into quarantine.
Well, I think quarantine, but absolutely not. No.
so I think he'll come over with probably what he'll want to paint as an olive branch for for the special relationship. So I wouldn't surprise me if the US goes in the next round into green.
And let's just chat quickly about what that green sort of list means. So basically, if you are going somewhere on the green list, and let's just remember that right now travel is still illegal until the 17th of May next week, when that legal ban is lifted. But basically, if you are going to somewhere on that green list, and just quickly, and I'm sure you're all aware of those 12 countries, but they are Portugal, Israel, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Brunei, Iceland, Gibraltar, the Falkland Islands, the Faroe Islands, South Georgia, the Sandwich Islands, and then St. Helena, Tristan da Cunha, and the Ascension Islands. I mean, how many? I mean, there's only probably about 3 or 4 of these that we can actually get to right now, isn't there? Because the rest of them have got bans on people coming in.
Well, in theory, actually, the only one that I've found, and I have to confess, I didn't look at the South Sandwich Islands, but of the places that I know, I'm sorry. I'm going to send a personal apology to the leader of the South Sandwich Islands with a sandwich.
I think his name's Pete, apparently, and he has he's black and white and has a couple of wings. Pete the penguin.
Brilliant. Not happy feet at the moment, though. He's probably very happy feet.
No, not with all those humans about to descend. No.
So if you look at the places that are kind of tourist on the tourist trail, Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, Gibraltar, Portugal, and I guess to some extent Singapore would fall onto that list as well. Of all of those places, the only place that I could find right now, even saying that on the 17th of May they would be open to international visits, is Iceland. Even Portugal, right at this moment, is not has not published reciprocal arrangements. But I think as we've learned through COVID generally, and certainly through travel corridors and what have you, things move very quickly. And the destinations that are likely to be popular in that list have all made statements and saying, yes, we're working toward publishing being ready for the 17th of May to welcome UK visitors. So I think it's a little bit more patience waiting for them to digest the news that they could have 2.5 million Brits arriving on their doorstep, and that that news will come.
Have you, obviously you've got your own travel agency, Charitable Travel, which is, we'll just get the one-liner in, the UK's first not-for-profit travel agency. Have you seen an increase in people calling for Portugal in the last 48 hours?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of inquiries over the weekend come in for Portugal and in general, because I think the other thing that it's easy to forget is that we all seem to be hanging our hats on 17 May, but we've been selling 2022 for a long time. And, the emotional thing right now is, well, can I go away quickly? And I'm happy to say within about 2 hours of all of that news coming home on Friday, we took our first Portugal booking going reasonably imminently. So that was great news, and it's a great sign. And I know the customer in question has said that they're going to support a dementia charity with our free 5% donation, and I think that's absolutely brilliant, because that's what we exist for, is creating donations for charities.
Well, it's a great concept, isn't it? To be able to give money to charity like you do. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions. Well, first of all, the government states right now that people should not be travelling to amber countries for leisure. Now, there's a lot of questions around, and I've got one here from June in Lincolnshire. You should not travel to amber countries for leisure. What does that actually mean? It doesn't say you must not, and it's not illegal. Does it mean you can go to Spain in June?
Yes, it does. It absolutely means you can go to Spain in June. I think the government, the law that was passed doesn't look like it's going to get either extended beyond the 17th of May to ban international travel. So I think what the government is saying is they'd rather you didn't, because they're suggesting that countries are on amber for a good reason, and they're suggesting that you should not go. But that doesn't mean you cannot go. That said, amber destinations do have legal requirements when it comes to quarantining when you come back, and the testing regime and so forth, which is more stringent than the green. So you can absolutely go to Spain. I'm sure we would take your booking as long as you know what you're letting yourself in for. Now, amber's great in some senses, because if I don't know if it's easy for you to work from home for 10 days when you come back from a trip, then so be it. You've got to do 2 post PCR trip tests, one on day 2 and one on day 8. But you can actually do another optional one on day 5 when you come back from an amber destination. And if you're clear on the day 5 PCR, you can be released back into society. The other thing, you can take the electronic tag off and go back. The other thing to bear in mind is that whether you've had jabs or not is another misconception, is that if you've had COVID jabs, 1 or 2, this has nothing to do with it. The testing regime is what's important under the government guidelines, because if you've had jabs, it doesn't mean you can't carry, and it doesn't mean that every risk of you having COVID is gone. So sadly,
don't go to the airport flashing around your homemade printed off vaccination passport. I've had mine, I'm allowed back in.
No one is going to treat you like a VIP, sadly.
So, and another question, another important question here is, obviously the big news a week ago was that the FCO had actually lifted their ban on travel to the Greek islands and to the Canary Islands. So how does the FCO's advice differ to this traffic light system, and what should people be really focusing on here?
Well, the FCO is a broader set of advice for travel generally. It can cover all sorts of things regardless of COVID. It could be, with certain destinations, if they've got political issues or they've got inclement weather or something else that's affecting that particular destination, or it could be covered under the FCO and have absolutely nothing to do with the COVID traffic light system. So I think we all always advise our customers to check, and we check for them if they need us to, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office advice, just in case there's any change that has nothing to do with COVID. Quite refreshing if there was something nothing to do with COVID, since we've been living with it. But yeah, I traffic lights are 100% around COVID issues. FCO are broader, more general travel advice, and they should be read regardless, because I think it's common sense to see what's going on in the place you're going to.
And what about, where does the insurance sit then? I mean, if you are going to an amber or red destination, are you covered?
You can get insurance, but it has to be specialist insurance. And what it won't do is it won't, if you willfully go to somewhere where you're traveling against advice, then you're not going to be covered by any insurer. If you go to somewhere and where it was green, for example, and you get COVID, then it's somewhat like normal travel insurance, but you need to make sure that the COVID provision is there. We have an insurer that we have, we don't actually sell insurance, but we recommend certain insurances, and one good one for COVID cover is called Battleface. Worth looking at Battleface insurance.
Battleface, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of a scary name, but it's been specifically designed for more tuned COVID cover, and cover even against Foreign and Commonwealth Office advice.
And what about if you go on holiday to a green zone and that turns to amber or red while you're there? What happens with your insurance then? Are you covered if you go with somebody like Battleface? Will that be, I take it that will be explained in your policy, won't it?
Yeah, I think you'd need to look at the wording. I don't have the exact wording of the Battleface cover. I can follow up on that to the group, because I think that's a really good question. But as far as what the government has said about transition from green to amber and amber to red, is that they're going to put destinations on watch lists so that you have every opportunity to come back before you put yourself in a position where you would be somewhat stranded. Let's say somewhere went to a red area and airlines stopped flying, then that's going to be extremely challenging. But it would appear they're not going to do that on the turn of a sixpence, which is what they were doing last summer. And that was causing all sorts of grief. The Travel Task Force, I think, really was instrumental in ensuring that the government puts that watch list. So I think the thing to do there is to keep aware. And if you're going to a green place, I mean, probably more accurately, when you think about the differences, the implication of coming back from somewhere that has become amber and it's past the date when amber has come into effect, then your worst repercussion is the need to quarantine.
Yeah.
So it really depends on you as a person. If you're in a place, let's say the government gives, which I believe it will, a couple of weeks notice of somewhere that's on the watch list, I think you've then got to think, If it goes to amber and I'm still there and I come back, I've then got to quarantine for 10 days. If I can't do that because of my work situation, then I better get in touch with the tour operator and get in touch with Charitable Travel and try and come back sooner. If you're in an amber place and you've taken the plunge and thought, I'm going to go to an amber place, and then it goes on the watch list for a red place, you've then got to be thinking it's a bit more serious, because if you go to a red traffic light destination, then you've got a big bill coming, because you then have to stay in a government appointed hotel for 11 nights on the way home, which is going to cost you £1,750, plus the other PCR tests that you would have had. You would have had those in the amber, but you'd also get them in the red as well. But it's that big £1,750 scary extra bill that nobody wants.
Well, it looks pretty grim, doesn't it? There was quite a bit of coverage on the scenario in some of these hotels last week, showing some of the cuisine that these people were being fed. You won't get me there, that's for sure.
I don't think it's going to sell as an all-inclusive destination.
Not really, no. Not with the view out the window, really, either.
Thinking of, I think of tests. We've been talking a bit about testing. One of the misnomers, I think, or that I've seen around the testing requirement before you come home, in green and in amber, is that it doesn't have to be a PCR test that you get when you're in your overseas place before you come home. It can be a lateral flow test. The only distinction there is you can't take a lateral flow test with you, which has been discussed and talked about a little bit. Taking one of the home lateral flow test kits with you to Faro, to the Algarve, and then doing it when you're out there. That's not allowed. What they want to see is a certified, and by certified, that it's been done somewhere legitimately, like a pharmacy or a doctor or a clinic somewhere.
Or a private clinic where Boris can cream off his commission on the £120 test he's selling to his friend. Probably.
That is not the one we're talking about. And I've got good news on the PCR tests. We're Charitable Travel is part of a very large independent travel consortium, and we as a consortium have joined forces, and we can now secure PCR tests for £45.
Wow, that's good.
I know, when you think we provide our customers with a link, and they go off and purchase the PCR test, but for £45 it's amazing compared to what was around for 120. So as this normalizes, and I hate that sort of thought, but as this kind of world normalizes, then I think that kind of thing will get cheaper and cheaper and get more accessible if it continues to be required.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain bigger tour operators that are offering them even cheaper, aren't there? We won't mention their names, but as low as 20.
You'll pay for it somewhere.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be hidden, won't it, in some margin somewhere that you're paying. I've got another question, actually. Her name's Magda. I'm actually keen to go to Portugal for May half term, but flight prices have now gone crazy. Is there a way to find out if BA or other airlines would be adding more planes, given that it's now being added to the green list? I suppose the question there is, will there be more capacity on planes to Portugal? And will the price drop after that?
The first booking the booking I was talking about on Friday that we did was with EasyJet Holidays, and I saw their CEO, Mr. Lundgren, talking on the Beeb, saying that they're reacting very fast to bring more capacity into Portugal, because clearly they depend on selling air tickets, and they're going to put the capacity and as much capacity as they can into the destinations you can actually fly to, and I know they're talking about Iceland too, and I know they operate into Tel Aviv. So potentially that the airlines are quite savvy, and they're hungry for business. they'll react, providing that there's sufficient slots and airspace to enable them to do it. So I think the short answer is yes. Whether it will ramp up as quickly as May half term is hard to say. Particularly, and you must watch out for this. I firmly believe, and I won't bet my house on it because I think that would be a bad idea. But Portugal has not said it's safe yet from their standpoint. But I am absolutely convinced they will, to tally with the 17th of May. And so until Portugal gives their green light as well and says what their terms are, then I'm sure the airlines aren't going to start booking the planes in. So I reckon it'll take them a little while, but not that long.
But I mean, I think the other question there was as well, will that drive prices down? And I think the answer to that is probably no, isn't it? I mean, they're not going to reduce prices, are they, just because they've got extra capacity?
I think it's a seller's market for a while. While there's restricted supply and high demand, potentially high demand, then prices will remain fairly high. But it's also a competitive market. You've got, you've got Ryanair, EasyJet, British Airways, TAP, Air Portugal,
Jet2,
Jet2. You've got so many carriers that are flying that route that it's almost self-regulating. They're not allowed to have a cartel on pricing. There's been very high-profile cases of British Airways and Virgin being fined to try and create pricing cartels. So, I think it will self-regulate and find its level. The alternative, much as everyone is desperate, is to wait a little bit. Go after the school holidays. If it's not a school holiday that's being, a school term, a term time, half term time holiday that's being planned, but wait a little bit, because I'm sure as this gets easier, the pricing will normalize.
I agree. Okay, so I mean, this is quite an important question as well, and I think this is where, again, it's about who you book with and really understanding who you book with. What if your holiday destination turns amber or red? Do you get your money back?
So what will happen is you probably won't get your money back, but there's a few things going on. You won't have to pay in full, and you'll have a lot of flexibility whether to continue to travel. Even
if you've booked through an OTA, an online travel agency such as Expedia or whoever it might be, and you've paid in full, what would happen then?
Okay, so that's who you book with, and once you've booked, what happens. So if you book through a travel agent, and in turn they book through a tour operator, then you'll have a package, and that package will be governed by the package travel regulations. There's a requirement to have clear booking conditions, and the evolution over time, particularly over COVID, has been for the tour operator to offer very flexible terms, because clearly they understand the reality of the situation and how quickly it can change. So what we've seen is, before you would have tour operators that would say, well, if you cancel more than 12 weeks before, you won't get it, you'll only get your deposit back, or other things like that. Now we're seeing very low deposits. We're seeing full payment not even being required until 4 weeks before, sometimes less than that. So you get, if you haven't made a booking yet, you've got a lot of flexibility and a lot of time. If you book through an OTA and you book everything separately, then you are really playing a game of travel Russian roulette, because you simply don't know what is going to happen with the airfare, because the airlines tend to be very stringent when it comes to, if you're allowed to go, regardless of the quarantine requirements getting worse when you come back, if they're flying and you're physically allowed to go, then they're going to probably not be that helpful when it comes to giving you any money back. That said, maybe they would allow you to defer, but they're going to hold on to your money.
Yeah, we had a similar situation. We had a situation last year with my mum who decided she just did not want to go. You know, it was to Greece, and naturally we were at the time there was no quarantine, and because of her age, she was just like, I just don't want to go. You know, and I'm like, okay. She's well, I want my money back. I mean, you can't just expect the airline to refund you because you've decided that you don't want to go, Mum. It doesn't work like that. She was, pretty disappointed, but.
The other thing is, if you're booking hotels separately, I suppose who you book them with and on what basis. You know, if you're going to go off trawling the internet and finding a local hotel and booking directly with them, then it's really a question of, well, how does that hotel feel and what was its terms and conditions when you actually made a booking. You know, it's a little bit more emotional for them potentially if you're just saying, well, I'm not coming now, and you've committed to pay. Then if they say, well, you can come, there's nothing stopping you, they're going to be reticent and it's going to be a fight, perhaps. Whereas if everything is clear, and the one thing that we are really into at Charitable Travel is making it crystal clear what the terms of the booking actually are, so that everybody understands what they're getting themselves into, which sounds awful when you're talking about holidays. I can't even begin to think why that just sounds so horrible. But you do need to have a clear understanding. And you also need to have a clear understanding, like we were saying earlier, in relation to your personal experience. If you're very chilled about coming back and going into quarantine, hey, you know, it's no great deal. Whereas if that is really hard, then that is a big deal, and then you need to be more careful about it. The other thing is, it's going to be, sadly, it's going to be an incredibly dynamic situation. So, you know, to be able to ring up a travel agent and say, okay, how's it looking? You know, part of what that travel agent does for its money, and that accounts for all of them as well as Charitable Travel. The good, you know, there's always some bad ones out there, is that they'll have an eye out and they'll be in contact with the tour operator. If you have a concern, they'll get to the bottom of it and investigate that and advise you, because, you know, what's true today, you know, in a week's time might not be true, because it's us and the destination that's at play here. Two different things going on, and sadly not in unison.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Shapps made some pretty disparaging comments towards travel agents on Friday. I don't know if you caught his complete denial towards, essentially, I think for a lot of people have been the angels of the last year, haven't they, really? I mean, travel agents were almost, dare I say it, a dying breed until COVID struck, and they have the renaissance of the travel agent, what they have done, what you guys have done for people when the other bigger faceless, you know, websites and operators have just let people fend for themselves. It's just nothing short of incredible. And right now, I mean, why wouldn't you book with a travel agent? There's no reason why you wouldn't. It's not going to cost you anymore, and you're going to get the surety that you've got, you know, a travel agent on your side. It's really important, isn't it, right now?
I think so. I've heard Grant, you know, I'm again no fan of Grant Shapps either, but I've heard him say, equally, and other members of the government say, book through a travel agent, because they know that if someone books a holiday and they book it in 4 different places because of 4 different elements to the holiday, then that pickle is going to be so hard to undo for the individual if things change and the government changes them. Whereas if you book through a travel agent, the travel agent will work through the pickle and help you with it. So, and you know, on top of things like atoll coverage, and on top of the fact that you put money into a trust account to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. So, you know, I've heard the government say positive things as well. What did he say then? I missed that. Do I have to send him a horrible tweet?
Well, I think there was something around him dismissing that they even existed anymore, basically. I think there was a lot of uproar on travel gossip around what Mr. Shapps had said, yeah. But you're right. I mean, I think they do change. It's like, you know, there's other names in the industry that have been big spokespeople that have dismissed the travel agents until quite recently, and are now very sort of on their side, aren't they? But I mean,
it's a funny thing, Lyndsey, because tour operators who are the ones that are putting, they're potentially flying the planes and they're contracting the hotels and everything. There's so many more tour operators now that have reached out to travel agents that were previously selling direct, because they absolutely see the value of the expertise that the travel agent brings in the middle. And I think, I'll be the first to say, looking at things that you talked about me being no nonsense, I am, that it is always possible, and I will put my hand up and say it's always possible to book travel cheaper than you can book it with a tour operator, or you can book it with a travel agent. If you want to go trawling around the internet and finding whatever you like and chancing that it's reliable and chancing that it's okay, you can probably save a few pounds. But actually the value you get from booking through a travel agent who's booking through an atoll tour operator is immensely more than the few pounds you might save by spending hours on the internet and then hoping that everything goes right.
Well, it's just now is not the time, is it, to be, as you said, playing travel Russian roulette with a load of separate components to try and save yourself 50 quid, whatever you might say. It's just not the time at all.
The other thing, just a little advert for us, is the fact that we're a travel agent, but at the same time, we're working on a much reduced margin so that our customers can make that donation of 5% of their holiday price to the charity of their choice. So any money that you've actually paid over the odds, if you think you have, which often you don't, but if you think you've paid a little bit more, that's going to a charity at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. And that's why we are so excited and proud to have you guys on board as our travel agent of choice, because I mean, to be able to go on and let's face it, there's going to be some people spending some big budgets on holidays. If you go and spend 10 grand on a safari and you can give £500 of that, which would have in any other situation gone as commission, which is, that's fine. But in your case, you're foregoing that in order to give it to a charity of the client's choice, which is phenomenal, especially right now.
Plus you get Liz.
And of course, in fact, somebody's just made a comment actually about how they booked with Liz on last week, and she was absolutely brilliant. And Liz, for those of you that are tuning in and are not aware, we were working with a lady called Kate, and now we're now working with another lady called Liz, and Liz actually has taken over Kate. That didn't quite work out, but anyway, Liz works with Melissa at Charitable Travel, and is our dedicated travel agent for the Girl About Travel Club, which is free to join right now as well. So I mean, it's just a no-brainer, isn't it? You go on holiday, you book an amazing holiday, you get all of this, personalised service, you get advice, you get support. If anything goes wrong, you're there, and you get to give 5% to charity. It's fabulous.
I can't ask for better than that, Lyndsey. Thank you.
Listen, I would ask you one more question before we go, because we're a little bit over time, but we had a lot of ground to cover, so that's great. You've booked to go to the Greek islands this summer. Are you going to the Greek islands? What's your take?
Mine, well, I've actually changed it, but nothing to do with COVID. But I would definitely go to the Greek islands this summer. I'm going out to America now, so it's another controversial destination. Yeah. Another endorsement of the fact that I think we're getting back to normality. But absolutely, I would go to the Greek islands this summer. I think there is social isolation. You're out. You're out in some amazing scenery. You're not crammed in city locations. The islands themselves have had very low infection rates, if any, in certain cases, like handfuls. And I absolutely would. Traveling with airlines now, their cleanliness protocols, their mask wearing, the the process through the airport, I really would say there's no issue with it at the moment. If you were to ask me about India, I don't think India, so I think, and I say that because I think right now that's the case. It's going to take them a while to get through that, but I think it's a question of where, the time you book, when it is that you're booking, when it is that you're looking to travel, and the dynamics of the situation, And
it's going to be. I would like to think it's not going to be anywhere near as crazy and up and down as it was last year, but it's not going to be without some bumps in the road, is it? It's not going to be all smooth sailing. It can't be, because whilst we've got such a grasp on it, we're not in control of the other destinations that we want to go to, are we? So it's very much down to them.
One quick thing I just add into it that I saw some uncertainty around was transiting. So if you're going to get to a point where you can go to a green destination and you have to transit an amber or a red destination, the tougher conditions will apply. So I don't know if at some point the Seychelles goes green and you fly via Dubai, then Dubai's red at the moment. Therefore, you will be regarded as having been through a red destination, even if you were only there changing planes for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and I think there was a controversial comment as well from, Paul, I can't think of his surname, Paul, who has been quite a big spokesperson for the travel industry throughout all of this. And Paul Charles, yeah, that's PC agency, about, and he's been very, very vocal, hasn't he? And, in some cases, possibly a little bit, on the edge. How, what's stopping anybody from going to Portugal and then just doing a bit of a road trip into Spain or into somewhere else? And I don't know, do you see that as being, yes, okay, that's great, or is that actually a bit silly on his behalf to sort of make those comments?
Yeah, it's irresponsible.
It is irresponsible, isn't it?
It's irresponsible. I mean, there are rule breakers in this life, and people that will break the rules regardless. I'm not one of those people. I take these things seriously, because at the end of the day, it's not just my health that I'm affecting. If God forbid I went to somewhere and got COVID and brought it home, and infected somebody else, that would be awful. I'd rather, much as I'd like to sell everywhere, I'd like to sell the whole planet, but we need to do this ethically, morally, and sensibly. And whether you agree or disagree with the rules that have been put in place, I think we should respect them. Now is not the time to disagree with the government. The time is at the elections.
Very, very true. Melissa, thank you so much. If you have been watching tonight, I hope you found that useful. We will be back again at 7 o'clock next Sunday, when we might have some more headlines to dissect. We might have some more news to talk about. It will be a matter of hours before the 17th, when everything opens up. So that will be exciting. If you have any holiday requirements, if you're sat on the fence and thinking about booking a holiday, then of course you can contact Liz, who is our dedicated travel agent for the Travel Club, for the Girl About Travel Club. She works alongside Mel. And if you do book with Charitable Travel, then of course you get to give 5% of the cost of your booking at no extra cost to you, to a charity of your choice, or indeed one of the Girl About Travel Club chosen charities. And the Girl About Travel Club is free to join right now. I mean, bloody brilliant in there, Melissa, isn't it? The USA inspiration in there right now is fabulous.
I can't believe some of the women that you've got on USA Month. It's just been incredible. And let it be said, Charitable Travel is part of the Girl About family. If you want some latest advice, and you're thinking about booking but you're not ready yet, don't be scared to contact Liz, or don't just contact us. We're at the cutting edge. So, ask us the questions, and when you're ready, we'll help you book.
Brilliant. Melissa, thank you. I can't wait for next week now. I really enjoyed that. It's nice to be back. We haven't done it for a while. And we're also starting the Mel and Liz show on Thursday, which will be live again here in the Facebook travel community, it'll be a little bit less headline gripping and more inspirational and more about what Charitable Travel can offer you in terms of
no
holiday.
politics, all travel.
No politics, just all inspiration from Mel and Liz. So that'll be on, I think it's 8 o'clock. No, 6 o'clock on Thursday evening. Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm going to go have a glass of wine now.
I'm going to get my cat. I can't believe my cat's still there. Look.
Oh, she's quite happy, isn't she, listening to the travel news?
She's thinking about booking a cattery.
Listen, if you've got any questions, you can watch this on replay. It's available. Ask away. We'll make sure we answer them, and we'll see you this time next week for some more travel expert clinic with me and Melissa. Take care. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye.